Coin traders, what's going on? I want to take a quick look at Bitcoin right now, talk about the overall space, because we have had our little pullback here on the 5th of December. So for about 2 weeks or so, just kind of been in more or less a sideways tightening range pattern. So I want to talk about right now how we are finding support on top, the 50 period exponential moving average on the 12-hour chart. So once again, zooming out, this is the 12-hour chart. So as you can see, ever since we did find our bottom back in the middle of October before this nice little rally and pump we've been going through the last couple of months, actually had a very nice setup for these exponential moving averages, where we have had a fully nice bullish ribbon here, 12 on top, 26 and 50. And you notice that they don't really come all that close to actually changing this direction. But right now in the current setup, we're actually looking at the 12 and the 26, looking like they are starting to make that little bit of a bearish flip here. So that is going to be the first time that we have seen this happen since we have had our initial pump that started back in the middle of October. So do have to be eyeing some of these supports here on the 12-hour chart, and specifically if we talk about a level of closing support, we are going to be looking at 49.75 here. So as you can see, big period of closing support on this bounce before pulling back and now finding it as closing support again, especially on top of this 50-period exponential moving average. So for price levels, we actually do have several price levels to the downside, though still providing that support, starting with 47.50, 45.72, and then 41.50. Now, if we actually flip out into the daily here, you can see that we're still well above on top of these exponential moving averages, finding support on this 26 period. So if we do in fact lose these supports and actually lose the amount of support from the exponential moving average, then we will be looking down to find daily support on top of this 50-period EMA, as well as a very nice price level resistance that we found prior to this nice breakout. So that is coming in at 37893. So as you can see, huge point of just overall closing resistance, finally prior to on the start of the month, finding this nice little breakout up to our current top and trend high right now, right at 45K. So again, if we do find a little bit of slippage on the 50 period on the 12-hour and then on the 26 on this daily, I would expect actually to see a little bit more of that pullback down to test this 50 period on the daily, as well as this price level around 37889. So that is the bearish case. Now let's talk about the bullish case. So let's actually flip back into the 12-hour here for that. And so if we actually look at the chart, then if we do see a little bit of breakout due to being able to hold these price levels and exponential moving averages as support, then we would be looking to run up to the upside and test this previous resistance point at 43292. And so flipping into the daily, you can see that that actually aligns pretty well with this previous level of closing support and also closing resistance. Heartland for that 43174. So if we do in fact on the daily maintain 26-period EMA support, as well as these price level supports pretty much right in the $40,000 to $41,000 range, then we would be looking at some upside direction to try and break this level right above 43,000 at 43174. If that level does break, then we would be looking up to the upside to test the next daily level of closing resistance at 44190. So I would expect a little bit of struggle in between that zone if we do break, but then finally being able to break that. And especially if we can maintain an upside move, we would actually be finding this 12 period as support once again. So now flipping over to the 4-hour chart, because what we're looking at is finding the exponential moving averages as resistance once again, but we are testing lower supports. So we are going to have essentially a decreasing descending triangle along the support line. And if we can actually break through this trend line and find support back testing it, then we would be able to see optimistic case for rallying up and testing these trend highs. But if not, we do maintain resistance on the shorter term exponential moving averages and then finally break, then that's what will confirm a lower test down into the $39,000 range for Bitcoin. Now turning on technicals on this 4-hour chart really quick before we wrap up, already found our low on this 4-hour. And so if we zoom out, we can see that every time we have barely dipped into the oversold level of this RSI on the 4-hour, we have actually found a nice little pop and continuation to the upside. So assuming we can especially hold a higher low on this RSI, there's a very strong case that these lower supports will hold, and we will end up seeing upside pressure to test these upside resistances. In addition, what we're also looking at, if we look down here on the very bottom, the stochastic RSI has kind of been sitting on the bottom and now has flipped bullish. So we could see a little bit more momentum pushing this oscillator back to the upside above the $80 line, or the 80 line, excuse me. Lastly, turning on volume profile visible range before we go ahead and wrap up. So just again to highlight how we are forming a tightening range low, lower high, higher low now. So we are effectively looking at VPVR coming in. Center of mass right now is going to be right below 42,000. And so we could see that have an impact on the overall price range, seeing this tighten just a little bit more, which would be a very nice, good longer term setup for continuation of an upside direction on the longer term chart. Overall, though, this more or less sideways trading for Bitcoin has been extremely good for the altcoin space, because sideways trading Bitcoin and a rallying altcoin market does bring the dominance back down for Bitcoin. So a steady flatlining Bitcoin more or less and sideways trading has had a great impact on the overall decrease in dominance, especially since a lot of the altcoin space has a very nice rally lately. As always, though, can't neglect the longer term charts, and especially since we have been seeing a very nice upside without a prolonged pullback. So 8 weeks of just solid upside. Last week did close the first bearish week in 8 weeks. So now we're going to see whether or not we'll actually pull back to set a weekly higher low, or whether or not we can continue the shorter term uptrend and see prices getting even higher. Have been posting a lot here over on Twitter or X, so if you're not currently following me, drop me a follow. We do have lots of discussions and a lot of things like polls and a lot of chart analysis that do get posted a little bit faster than some videos do on this YouTube space. So definitely drop me a follow, and looking forward to chatting with everyone over on Twitter and X. So for overall in the Bitcoin and crypto space, that is what we're going to be looking at in the coming days here. So make sure you do drop a note and any questions or predictions down in the comment sections below. Do love getting back to each and every one of you. Also, if you did enjoy the video, please hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe if you have not done so just yet. That is going to do it for now, though, so stay safe, take care, and I'll catch you back in the next video.